Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's reading vlog, I don't really have a ton of plans, except that I know that I am in the middle of The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. I am currently 150 pages in, so I will be picking this up. And then I also have started on audiobook Glory Be by Danielle Arsenault. And this is a cozy mystery series that I started and I'm about 30% into. So I will also be reading this. But for now, let's just get into the video and get into my initial thoughts on The Stardust Thief. So I am 150 pages into The Stardust Thief, and this is sort of a loose retelling of, well, I guess it's more inspired by the 1001 Nights tales. So the Sultan is the Sultan from those stories, and the main character Mazen, his mother was the woman who told the Sultan stories. If you don't know the story, it was basically that the Sultan kept killing off his wives, and this woman becomes his new wife, and she starts telling him tales every night because it keeps him distracted. And so for 1001 Nights, she tells him the stories to save herself. And this is after those events. So his mother has passed away for different reasons, and he, Mazen, is the son of the Sultan and her. And then he has a brother, Omar. And then we're following Luli, who is a woman who, when she was younger, her family died in a very gruesome way, and we don't really know what happened to them, but she has a jinn companion who protects her, and they work together, and she's a merchant that sells magical goods. That she kind of illegally does this, and her jinn friend Katir, he helps her. Then one day the Sultan decides that he wants to use this infamous merchant, Luli, to track down a mythical object that has something. I don't know if it tells you. It's an ancient lamp. So it also feels a little bit Aladdin to me. So she's gonna go find this lamp, and where I am at, we're starting the adventure of finding the lamp, and we're switching perspectives between Luli and Mazen, and also Aisha, who is a thief that Mazen's brother Omar hires, and he has the 40 Thieves Guild or something that he is the head of. So we have some things going on with Mazen and Omar that I think is an interesting part to the story as well, and it's very storytelling feeling. You get sometimes these little pages that look like this, and it's a story within the story, and I enjoy that a lot. I think it's very easily readable at this point. I'm sucked into the world, and the story so far isn't something completely blowing me away, but it sucked me in, and I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. So the magic is kind of this enchanting magic where you kind of get enthralled by the djinn. There's all different kinds of magic too, and I like the insertion of magical objects, which I know is part of the mythology in this time period and in this part of the world. I really like a good magical object. And she has a bag that's a infinite bag, so you can just stick things in, and it always makes me think of when I would play D&D and there was the bag of holding, because that was the greatest thing to have, because you can just stick anything in there. And I love a good bag of holding. So that's where I'm at. I will check in with you more when I've made more progress, but I'm just loving being in this fantasy era again. It's just great. So I will see you later. I have made it a significant way through The Stardust Thief. I'm on chapter 49, so I am probably going to finish this very soon, and so I wanted to give a little update. I'm really enjoying this. I won't say it's a 5-star yet, but it is just got a lot of adventure to it, which I really like. It's very fast-paced. Ever since the beginning, it feels like it's thing after thing. So if you like an action-packed story, or I don't know, I guess adventure-filled, where the plot, things just keep happening to the characters one after another, and it doesn't really give you a break to just sit there and see the character just do daily life, this might work for you. I tend to like a little more character building a little bit slower of a plot. But that being said, I have really liked things like The Adventures of Amin al-Sarafi, which is very fast-paced and quick. I like the humor in that as well, but this one's less humor-filled, but still kind of action-packed like that, and that really worked for me. So far, this is working for me as well. I wish the characters had maybe like a little more fleshed out about them. I think that we're getting background stories of them as time goes on, but like the prince character, I wish we got a little bit more of him as well. We see glimpses of him, but I wish we got more into his childhood and stuff and like why he is the way he is. I do like that he is a character who is more of a soft character, and I think you don't always get that representation with males in fantasy stories, and so I really am enjoying that as well about it. There's been a lot of like twists and turns. There's something that happened that really upset me and like hurt my heart. So it has stakes to it as well, with also feeling a little bit not the highest stakes book I've ever read. So it's been really working for me, and I'm excited to finish it and let you know like final thoughts about it. But right now, I really am having a good time. I think the inclusion of all the magical objects and the different magical things they're encountering are really fun. At this point, I don't see how it's going to wrap up in one book. I know it's a trilogy, so I kind of wonder if we're going to be working towards getting this object for the entire trilogy, or if we're going to find the object by the end of the 100-ish pages I have left. How much do I have? Yeah, like 120 pages I have left. If we're going to find it and it's going to start a bigger thing, or if that's going to just continue, like, because so far we're still like trying to track down this object, and I don't know if I have a preference either way. I think like what we're getting now is showing a bigger story that could unfold and that probably will unfold, but is not super clear at this point whether or not we're going to like get to that point yet, because a lot would have to happen, I think, to get to a point where things come together in a nice way. Also, we are getting 3 perspectives. We're getting Lulis, who's the thief. We're getting Mazan, which is the prince. And then we also get Aisha, who is the other prince, which they call king because there's the sultan, and then the king is his older brother. And he's head of these 40 thieves, and he is like Aisha's boss because she is part of the 40 thieves, and then she's tasked with like going with them on this adventure. And I wish also we were getting Omar, who is the king's like perspective, because I feel like there's a lot about him and he's included a lot in the story, but we actually don't get to see a lot from his perspective. And I'm wondering if as the books go on, we will get more of his perspective or see how he's wrapped up in the story more, because I feel like there's a lot of intrigue with him and a lot of things around magic that we just aren't getting answers to yet. So I'm wondering if the series is going to include him more as it goes on, or how he's really included in the story. So I have questions and I am interested, and it is a very fast read too, just from the fast pace, but also the writing, and it's very big text. So it just reads really quickly for, even though it's like a bigger book. So I will finish this and let you know final thoughts when I finish. Sorry if you can hear my neighbors. They're having a really good time downstairs and they're playing their music kind of loud and I can hear them. So sorry if you can. But I finished The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, and I really liked it. I think I'm going to go with 4 stars. There are some character development things that I think we could have gone deeper on. I believe this is a debut as well, so it makes sense, and I really feel like, well, I'm hopeful that the second one will dive deeper into things. So the Ashfire King comes out on April 15th, so I definitely will be picking it up and reading it because this is just so fun. It was very fast-paced and quick, and then towards the end there was a lot of twists and turns, and well, I don't know if it was the most surprising thing. I was so sucked in that I wasn't even really thinking about what could be happening. There was one thing I did guess, but I feel like the story was leading you there anyway. I don't really feel like it was supposed to be a huge surprise. I really liked the ending. It left off in a cliffhanger, and it's got a trope in it that I figured would come because of the nature of the book and the lore. So if you've read it, you will know. The lore of this world really made me hopeful that this specific trope would happen, and it is. So I'm very excited to jump into the next book because I do think it's going to start off in a spot where I'm very interested to see how it goes. I definitely have characters that I just absolutely love, and the growth for characters has a really big potential to have a lot of character growth throughout the series, because as I've said previously, Mazin, the prince, is a very naive character. He just doesn't have a lot of experience in the world, and he's very soft-hearted, and that is a great thing. But I think he's learning that people don't always have his best interest at heart. So he's starting to have to grow up and realize the world isn't as easy as he maybe thought it was. And so I really am here for the character growth that I think could happen throughout this series. And yeah, I'm just very excited to have another kind of desert fantasy to read through, because honestly, after reading City of Brass, there's been like a hole in my heart where that kind of story is, and I feel like I'm getting it through things like The Stardust Thief and This Woven Kingdom. They're really just helping scratch that itch for me. So I really enjoyed this. I think that if you like a high action adventure story that's not overly, I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes like in certain fantasies where there's a lot of war and you just get war scene after war scene, it's not like that. It's more just like a fun adventure where things keep going wrong and they keep having to fight off things. And so if you like that, I think you could really enjoy this story. If you like mythology woven into stories, I think you could really enjoy this. If you really grew up liking things like Aladdin and the 1001 Nights stories, I think that maybe you could enjoy this as well. It's got a lot of things. If you like gin, there's gin magic in here. If you like all that, I'd highly suggest picking this up because it was really good. I'm really happy I got to it, and I can't wait. I will be picking up the Ashfire King when it comes out on the 14th. No, on the 15th of April. Okay, well, I will see you when I have my next book to talk to you about.
Espresso machine and the book. It didn't help that he was grinning like a goddamn fool at that white woman. She was wearing a pink-ribbed tank top.
Hello, I'm here to update you because I am 30-ish% into Glory Be by Danielle Arsenault, and this is a first in a cozy mystery series, and I picked it up because I saw someone talk about it on Instagram, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I think it was showing it compared to like Finlay Donovan and things like that, and I've said that I want to find things that are more fun, and this seems like it was going to be that. I will say the beginning starts off a little more sad, so we are following Glory as she is just going about her life. She's retired and she works, well, she doesn't work. She goes to this coffee shop every day, and she does like gambling bets and things like that in the town. And the book starts out where she goes to this coffee shop and she is kind of like a bit of a curmudgeon. Like, she has a lot of opinions about things. So like the guy who owns the shop like hired a new person, and she's very like critical of this new person, and it's just fun from the standpoint that you see that she like is kind of a curmudgeonly character, but yet like so many people find her endearing, and you see her like soft spots as well along the way. And we follow as she's there and finds out that her best friend, who is a nun, actually unalived herself. And so you see her like run to the scene, and while they don't show, because it's a cozy, they don't like talk about the actual like body there, but they do kind of talk about like the grief and stuff. So like the beginning part was very sad. You're then going to her friend's funeral, and her daughter, forgetting her name at the moment, Delphine, that's it. And Delphine comes back, and she's in New York, and she's very well off. She's a lawyer. We slowly start to see that Delphine has more going on in her life than she's letting on, and Glory believes like Delphine's life is like very perfect and everything. And this is set in Louisiana. But yeah, we follow as Glory realizes that her friend would never unalive herself, and the situation, because she saw the actual crime scene, she believes that her friend was actually murdered. And so they're starting to investigate. And where I'm at, we have them investigating, but there's also all these little like side plots. So Glory's house is like, she's going to be evicted if she doesn't clean it up, because she has a lot of things everywhere. She has become like somewhat of a hoarder. She collects a lot of things, and she's had a lot of like hardships in her life of divorce and losing her people close to her and things like that. So we just see as she has more to her character, and you see like why she is kind of a curmudgeonly character, and then you also get to know Delphine and the things that Delphine is going through. And then we're also trying to solve this mystery. So we know the nun, her best friend, was also helping to be on the board for this like oil tycoon, to prove that they were doing things like that were environmentally bad, and she was going to be like one of the top witnesses on the case. and now she's dead, so they think it could be tied, so they're trying to figure it out. So while the beginning starts off like a little bit sad, obviously, with the death of her best friend, the rest of it is like, I would say it's like funny in that like the way that they talk and like the situations that they get into have funny moments, but it also feels like it has more depth to it because you're getting to know like the reasons behind these characters' motivations more. So I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a fun mystery while also having a lot of heart to it. So I'm enjoying it. And I had never heard of this before, and I think it just came out in 2024. So 2023. So I think it hasn't gotten a ton of like hype, and I hope that it starts to pick up because I think it reminds me too of like Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice. Sorry for this sun, I don't know what it's doing, but it reminds me of Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. No, yeah, the new one, and I'm gonna get those all mixed up now that the new book is coming out. But yeah, Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. My brain just short-circuited because of the sun. It reminds me of that, where it was fun but also wholesome. There was a lot of moments of heart to it. So I'm excited to finish this. I'm going to listen to this on audio today, and then I will let you know more thoughts. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. And I will see you later. Hello, I am here because I'm editing this video, and I realized I started talking about Glory Bee, and I was about 30% in, and I never gave you any more updates from there. And then I already filmed my wrap-up, and I've returned the book to the library, so I don't have it here to show you, but I did finish it, and I just want to give you my thoughts on it still. So I ended up having mixed feelings about this, which is kind of why I think I didn't check in around the 70% mark, because I truly didn't know how I felt about it until the ending. I think that this book had a lot of potential, and then it just didn't quite live up to what I was hoping. It had this very in-between feeling of being partly a cozy mystery, partly like a fun mystery. I don't know if in books in the mystery genre, if there's really like a distinction between cozy and fun. So like in my mind, there's cozy mysteries that I've read, like Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers kind of bridges both fun and cozy. Cozy tends to have a lot of like found family, a cute, quirky, cozy town. Usually there's like a bakery or something like that that has this cozy feel to it. While in a fun mystery, there's usually a lot of shenanigans that go down, and characters are really like quippy and fun and have a lot of banter between each other and get themselves into situations that they can't possibly get out of. And for those, I'm thinking like Finley Donovan, Dial A for Aunties is another one. Vera Wong kind of bridges between them. And then I read It's Elementary, and that also to me bridges between cozy and fun, though to me leans a little more on the cozy side. Every time I go on vacation, someone dies, and everyone in my family has killed someone. Those ones lean more in the funny category of mystery. And this one felt like it didn't really bridge the two. It kind of felt like it wanted to be both, but didn't put enough into both of them, if that makes sense. We have characters that are very curmudgeonly. Glory is a very curmudgeonly woman. She just has a lot of opinions, and she's going to tell you about them. And she was a fun character to follow. She is messy. Both of the characters are very messy. She has a lot of things going on in her life, and so we get to see her as she kind of doesn't want to confront a lot of things, and it comes out in like her personality and her interactions with people. And while I appreciate that about her, her daughter Delphine also had a lot of issues, and I think was a little messy for like the sake of being messy. And not that every book has to have a takeaway from these things. Like some characters can just be messy, and that's fine. But if you're in a cozy mystery, I almost feel like you need a reason for the character to grow, and you need to like have them learn a lesson or something. Where this, I'm just gonna say it, so if you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead to the next section. I'll put a timestamp up here. But we have Delphine, who is getting a divorce from her husband, and she's cheating on her husband, and that's why they're getting a divorce. And okay, you have that trope in there, and then maybe she's gonna learn from it, but then we watch her repeat the same thing and go after a married man. We have conversations in her head where she's like, I know this is wrong, but I don't care. I just want to do this. And by the end of the book, we just watch her like not care that she's cheated with a married man again. and she just kind of like doesn't care. She's like, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And so I was like, I don't really understand what the takeaway is supposed to be. Like, are we supposed to be seeing her have character growth? Is this just going to be like a part of the series? And for me personally, that is not something I like to read about, especially being in the head of the person cheating. I don't want to read about that. Like, it's a trigger point for me. And so I didn't enjoy that. We just like didn't get, to me, a real resolution, and it was very open-ended, and it is going to be a series, so I just really feel like it's going to continue that messy dynamic throughout the series, so I don't want to continue on. So I guess now let's be out of spoilers. So that aside, I think that brought my enjoyment down because it's just something I don't like to read about in books. But additionally, the mystery was such like a subpar part of the book that we just didn't get as much. It was a lot of like, beginning, there's a mystery, and then we deal with a lot of personal dynamics, and then it's like a quick wrap up of the mystery. So I just feel like things weren't necessarily balanced the best for me. So at the end of the day, I think I want to go with a 3-star. I didn't hate the book, and I didn't love the book. It was just okay. And so that's why I'm going to land on 3. I can see where an audience would really love this, especially it's got a lot of like Southern humor. They're in Louisiana, and I've seen reviews where people like, I literally have talked to this person before, and like these are all like characters that would be in my town, and I don't have that background. I'm from Michigan, so not South at all, and that just like maybe didn't stick with me as much because I just didn't have the context. I do think there are humorous parts, like there were parts where I was chuckling out loud to things, but I just don't think it did enough to make me fully invested in the story. So I don't think so I know I won't be continuing on, and I just don't know. It's one of those books where I'm like, yes, I'd recommend it, but no, I wouldn't either, because I just think it's going to be hit or miss. But unfortunately, I really wanted to love this one, but I just didn't quite as much. So I will be keeping still eyes out for more like fun mysteries. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. But this one just didn't quite work for me. Good morning. I wanted to check in because I am just about 100 pages into The Berry Pickers. I'm on chapter 6, and in this we are following 2 perspectives. We're following Jo, who is part of this family that picks berries every summer in Maine and Nova Scotia. They are Indigenous workers who they kind of cycle through different, they cycle through different seasons of work, and this specifically follows them when they're in the summer season and they're picking berries, and they are doing all this work and just talking about life there. And we are following Jo as he's like reflecting back on his life from while he's older and he's dying from cancer in this, and he is reflecting back on that time. And during that time one summer, the years are very vague, but it feels around to me of when the like 60s scoop happened, where a lot of Indigenous children were taken to residential schools in Canada and in the United States. That was also happening, but this specifically in Canada. And because we talk about his 2 older siblings like being taken and coming back, and so to me it sounds like it's there, but it's not really set during, it does say July 1962. Okay, I thought it did, but the beginning it doesn't say that. And we're following him as one day his younger sister Ruthie goes missing, and now we know in adulthood he's reflecting back on like their life before and after it. And then we're also following Norma, who is a young girl. Well, she's also reflecting back on her life, and as a young girl she doesn't have any memories of before like 4. She only has this reoccurring dream that is like disturbing to her, and her family's really weird about it. And I think it's more of a literary fiction in that I don't think that this is a big mystery, and I think it's pretty obvious to the reader that Norma is likely Ruthie, who's been taken, and I think we're seeing her life as she's with this family who she believes is her family, but there's a lot of weird things that they won't tell her about, and also like her life is very controlled, and it's like a story about life and loss, and it's right now I'm really enjoying it. The storytelling aspect of it is really good, and it's very heartbreaking but also hopeful, because there's this like hope that maybe they'll meet up again one day, and like you don't know if at the beginning of the book, if they're going to ever. And you just, at least I do, have this hope that they will reunite at some point. It's very good. It's got a lot to say, and I'm very excited to continue on and see what more this comes from this. And this is a debut, and I'm just like amazed because this is so, like, you'd think that she's been writing for forever, and maybe she has, but it's her debut novel, and yeah, it's beautifully written as well. So I'm gonna go into work, and I'll let you know when I've made more progress. But I can tell just by this I will be wanting to pick up more books by her, and I think that she has a new one out like this year. So if I like this, which I am very much enjoying the writing so far, I do want to pick up another one by her. So I will see you later when I have more thoughts on the book. Hello, I am about 50% of the way through Berry Pickers. I'm on chapter 9, and I wanted to come back and give a little update. I'm really enjoying this. It's just definitely a family saga. We're following them throughout their whole life and how this kidnapping has really affected them. It's a lot about child loss and losing a sibling, and this like kind of feeling of closure as well. So we follow Joe, who has always believed his sister's out there somewhere, and Joe's mom also believes that. And then we have other family members who believe that she's dead and want to move on. And so it's this like also examination of like closure and how does one family move past something like this, and you never really do. We also have just like different things happening in their lives, and both sides, not just Joe's side, but Norma or Ruthie, her side, as well. Like her family dynamics are really messed up, and you see her like have a lot of trauma from her childhood that she doesn't really track. And so it's just a very like family story that you're just exploring the wounds that something like this carries. And we deal a lot with like motherhood in here and loss of children. So if that's a trigger for you as well, know that that is a part of it too. Not just from like kidnapping, but like childbirth, like loss and miscarriages and things like that. But I think that it's also a book that really like sucks you in. I just feel for these characters so much, and I'm hoping we have a happy ending. That's all I want. I am a sucker for happy endings. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like a happy ending where all the characters are good and you feel good about it, or do you like kind of I wouldn't say like necessarily a sad ending, but like a bittersweet, like maybe not all the characters make it and you feel heartache at the end, but like do you feel like that's worth it? Which side of this spectrum do you fall on, or does it like kind of matter based on what you're reading? Because I feel like for the most part, like I want my characters to be safe by the end, and it's a rare occasion that a sad ending, like I can still enjoy it, but it's not my preferred. So it's rare that I like want a sad ending in a book, and I'm saying sad loosely, but like bittersweet, I guess, you know what I mean. Where most of the time, like I just want all my characters to be okay. I have this conversation with my coworker, which is a different topic than this, but like we talk about having deaths in, especially in like fantasy books and stuff, and how my coworker says that if there's no like stakes, like if characters can just come back and things like that, then she doesn't like it as much because it needs to have stakes. And for me, I'm like, you can bring my characters back from the dead all freaking day. I will be so excited every time if no one dies by the end, or if they die and come back. Like I'm happy. And so we always talk about like Vampire Diaries because spoiler if you've never seen them, but they like die and come back like so many times, and Supernatural does that as well, and two of my favorite shows. So you know, I love it and she hates it, so I wonder what you think, if you want to leave comments down below, because I feel like that's a very big debate. Like some people really need characters to die to have stakes, and some, or like to feel like there's stakes. Like she says that she feels like that it makes it so like, well, what are you worrying about? Like there's nothing to worry about because they'll all be okay. Or do you like when there is like a happy ending, like you know your characters are going to be okay? So leave that in the comments below. I'm gonna go into work, and I will be listening to this on audio at work, so hopefully I'll make it a good chunk of the way through to give you final thoughts. I feel like I'm so low, but this is as high as I can get and as low as I can get my tripod at the moment. So we're just gonna do that. Anyway, I finished Berry Pickers, The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters, and I really, really loved it. I think this is definitely a 5-star book. I really love the exploration into family, into grief, into a childhood that's forever shaped by such a tragic event, and how a family can still find moments of happiness, but also the incredible hardship that can come from that, and just seeing a family that kind of never loses hope. I just really loved this book. There was so much heart in it throughout the whole story. I really loved that we were following only, 2 perspectives throughout, even though there's so many more family members we could have got perspectives of. I think having the 2 was very intentional, and we watch just how both childhoods are shaped by such an event. This man's car is always so loud, and he turns it on. He leaves it for 20 minutes. So I apologize, but I'm going to just keep talking because he's going to be a long time and I don't have time to wait. So anyway, so I really enjoy how we see these 2 childhoods, how they're impacted by such an event. And while on the outside we see Norma's life as a fairly normal life, we also get to see how this not knowing has really shaped her family dynamics, and how there isn't a ton of love in that family. There is, but there isn't. It's a very complicated dynamic, and her mother, specifically her mother, is very controlling, and you see that impact on Norma because of what happened. And then you see this family who's been impacted by such a hard thing. They've lost a child, they've lost family members, and still there's so much love in this family. And I think the juxtaposition of that is really well done. And also we get such a vivid view of northern Maine into, I forget what the area is in Canada, but right there, Nova Scotia, that's the word. And we just get to see them live their life, and also we see life as an Indigenous person, as part of the Mi'kmaq tribe, in the context of this time period in the 1960s. And we see a lot of hardship and a lot of love and a lot of complex nature of people. I feel like this book had a very nuanced view of everything, and I really enjoyed it so much, and I'm very happy I picked it up because I saw it on the table for literal months, and I just kept thinking well, I don't know, literary fiction's not largely my thing, but this cover was always drawing me to it. And then I finally read the back, and I'm very glad I brought it home because this is a new favorite. I would highly recommend, if you haven't given it a try and you like literary fiction and stories like this. I thought it was really good. But I will see you later. Oh my gosh, hold on. I have to show you this. Look at how cute he is. Are you comfy? He just sleeps there all day, and it's his favorite spot. So I'm gonna leave him, and I'll leave you, and I'll see you when I have another book to talk to you about. Hello, I've made it to 110 pages in to these Infinite Threads, so I wanted to give you an update on my thoughts. This is the second book to This Woven Kingdom, which I read in my last reading vlog and really liked. So I picked up this book on Pango, and it finally came, so I sat down, started to read it, and I'm really enjoying it. Let me tell you. So there was a character introduced at the end of the last book that I was really intrigued by, and we're definitely getting more of that character in this book. I'm still kind of in the setup for this, so not a lot has happened, but can I just say that the main character, the main guy in the last book, he is wild to me. The way he can just twist anything to fit whatever idea pops in his mind. I swear, we're watching this man go from point A to point Z in a split second. We're not seeing any of the letters in between of how he got there. I'm just how are you coming to these conclusions, my guy? I just don't understand. So I don't know if he's going to continue to frustrate me, but we will see. But I'm really liking this new character, and I think that there's going to be some good banter between the two characters. And I think there's going to be more world building and development about how this world and the things that are happening are interconnected. And I'm really excited to see Aliza like come into her own, because we see her in the first book where she's really on the brink of disaster. She's just really in survival mode, and now while she's still kind of in survival mode, I'm hoping we see like more of her personality come out, and we get to learn more about her and see her start to thrive a little bit, because I really want that for her. And I'm happy to see how this is gonna go. So there was like a creature that was introduced into the next one, and I really like when we have like animal companions, so I hope that that continues to develop, and I'm just having a fun time. It's a very fun YA fantasy series, and I really like the way she world builds, and each city feels very different and distinct, and I like that. And we're actually seeing more of how the magic works in this so far, and I'm hoping we're gonna get more of that, because I feel like that was one thing that maybe was lacking in the first one. Is it's a magical world, but you don't really get to understand how the magic works. So I'm having a great time with this. I will check in when I have more thoughts to give you, and I will just see you in a little bit. As you saw from the clip before this, I went to the bookstore and I picked up the next book. So I think that gives you my opinion on this one. But before we get into this opinion, I just wanted to show you what I got in the book haul. So I did pick up book 3, and I will be reading this immediately. Book 4 comes out in September, and then there'll be one book after this. So I feel like it was a perfect time for me to get into the series. And then I saw this because I sometimes just keep looking around when I found the book I wanted, because I wasn't ready to leave, which, you know, inevitably makes you buy more books. But I found this one, and I think I'd seen the cover before, but I never knew what it was about. And then reading the inside flap, this just sounds like a book for me. So it's called Strange Beasts, and it's a fresh yet familiar gothic tale, part historical fantasy, part puzzle box mystery. The worlds of Dracula and Sherlock Holmes collide in a thrilling exploration of feminine power. And it's essentially the daughter of Dracula's killer meets up with Moriarty, who's a woman in this, and they are trying to race to stop a beast from going on a killing rampage. I think this just sounds like something I would really love. I really like retellings of Sherlock Holmes and Dracula and like that time period. One of my favorite series is, I think I have it somewhere else. I'm so confused. Where did it go? I have it in a stack over there, and I'm not going to go undo it. But it's The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. That, one of my favorite series of all time, and that plays with this like retelling of popular characters from like Victorian literature. So I can't wait to get to this. Totally a cover buy. I had seen the cover, thought it was gorgeous, but never knew what it was about. And then I saw it there again at the bookstore this time, and not online. And it just sounds really good. So I hope that it ends up being something I really love. But yeah, I finished this. I flew through it. I know I was at like, I don't know, 20% when I checked in, and I didn't check in at all because I was just devouring this. I read this in one sitting yesterday. I checked in, and then I did not stop reading until I finished it. And so it was like one of those books that I haven't had in a while, where I just sit down and read and can't stop the entire day. And it was so fun. I watched reading sprints from Becca and the Books. One of her past reading sprints, I turned it on and spent the whole day just reading. It was like a couple hours that her sprint was, and I just did that, and it was really great. I loved it. This, final thoughts. I think I'm gonna go with 4 stars. The series is just so fun to me. It's very angsty to me. It's just like so much drama, but I love it. And the plot really did not progress very much in this one. We got more, and we got to know more characters. Like they said, there's a character. He was introduced at the end of the first one, and we got to understand him and his motivations a bit more. But we still really haven't seen a whole lot of like what the magic is gonna do and what the overall plot is. It's a very slow-paced book. It's very vibes only, but I'm very much enjoying that. I think I'm a sucker for a love triangle. I'm a sucker for an angsty man character that is just going through it. Some of my favorite characters are the angsty ones, so I'm having a great time. I feel like there's not so much I can tell you because this one is the second in the series, and not a lot like happens, honestly, except for characters just like getting to know each other and going back and forth. But I will say our main character from the first one, he continued to irritate me, but there are a bunch of side characters that really call him out on his bullshit. So I really like the side characters that are there. Oh, Jesus. And I think we're going to get them more in this book. So I'm very excited for that because I do love side characters. And one of the characters that I really liked that was a side character in the first book, he was more present in here, and we see like how he might play out his role, and I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to continue. I will be continuing on probably today, to be honest. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. I don't have one of the books, but I managed to read 4 books in this reading vlog, and I had a really good time with all of them. I really only didn't love Glory Be, but this was 5 stars, this was 4 stars, and this was also 4 stars. So I had a great reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you've been reading down below, and if you want to leave a knife emoji down below for this book, please do if you made it to the end. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.